It's time! It's time! You like that? You like that? Woo!
It's Waxing Lyrical, baby.
Hello, Waxers, and welcome to Waxing Lyrical with Mains and Dutch. I'm your host, Mains, and my colleague, a man who would never leave a WhatsApp group like Eden Hazard would. That's Mr. Neil Dutton. How are we, Neil?
See, that's the new way of knowing something's official. Do you know the way, when the kids used to say, when they were going out with someone, it was Facebook official? Well, now, if you leave a WhatsApp group, you know an era has come to an end.
I love the idea that Chelsea... I don't know how I thought that professional sportsmen, let's use sportsmen as a general rule here, communicated, but I didn't expect there to be like an official Chelsea FC WhatsApp group. Do you know what I mean? And it's like that kind of idea that, like we've got a group and it's got 12 lads in it, and about 4 people regularly comment. And like, for example, if Melia says something in that group, it's important. I'm now interested to find out if like the offensive jokes and silly gifs have now dropped by 50% because Eden Hazard isn't in the group, or is it someone who won't be missed at all?
That is the question. What was he bringing to the group? Was he bringing the epic bants? Was he just
bants,
literally?
Of course.
Was he just sitting back and watching, or was he one of these people who doesn't check it until he comes home from work and it's coming into 150 missed messages, and he's just like, I can't be bothered commenting on this.
I don't understand those humans, but there you go. That's different, Neil. They are Luddites who can deal without technology. I'm not one of those people. Neil, it's been nearly a month since we spoke to the brilliant Patrick Doty. I don't know how long we've been away for. Since then, we've been on a trip together to the Belgian capital of Brussels, keeping with our Belgian theme linked to Eden Hazard for our friend Craig's stag do. Spectacular time was had by all. I wasn't there as long as Neil. Put it this way, when I was about to get up to head to the airport to head back to the UK, Neil was just about coming in from the night before.
What a hero I am. I also spent the last day drinking 8.5% ale, like it was lemonade, much to the shock and chagrin of other people. How I'm not dead is quite frankly a mystery.
I think we've discussed this before. For our American listeners, for our friends in the UK, for our friends over the globe, we would recommend heartily leaving your country to visit other countries across the globe. It's good. I know our party political leaders have decided it's a bad idea. We haven't. You meet new people, you drink new things, you eat new things, and what you find out is that the alcohol in your country is rubbish compared to everywhere else. Yeah,
and even though it's stronger, you don't wake up feeling as rough because there's no crap in the ale.
Exactly, Neil. And after our events in Brussels, I then hot-footed it off to the good old United States of America. Although most Americans will suggest I didn't actually go to America. I went to Orlando in Florida. I would say it was Disney World, but I didn't actually go to Disney. I went to one Disney park. The majority of the other time was spent in Universal or food outlets.
Well, where else would you go? And why else would you go?
Loved the Arby's. Ate a Chick-fil-A. Then found out that Chick-fil-A actually give money to, this is a phrase I learned, anti-gay charities. I don't know how that's a charity. Therefore won't be eating in Chick-fil-A again.
This is a bit like that time last year when I said I was raising money for prostate cancer, and someone pointed out, I don't think it needs your help. I went, okay, you're right, I've worded that poorly.
Yeah, I was hoping that when Kate found that, my wife, on the internet, that it was incorrect. However, then remember that Chick-fil-A doesn't open on a Sunday and is owned by a highly religious man. Realised it wasn't and thought that spicy chicken sandwich was amazing, but we'll never see the cold light of day again.
Well, let's hope it didn't see the cold light of day after you ate it.
It didn't. So, Neil, I've been away for 4 weeks, and much like Kelly Clarkson would say, since I've been gone, stuff has happened, and we thought we'd quickly do a rundown of what those things were and our thoughts on them. Next week, we'll get back into the world, and we'll have a fantastic interview with one of my favourite people and one of Neil's favourite people, Yahoo's Liz Loza. But for now, what we're going to do is quickly go down some news and notes, give you 25 minutes to half an hour of our thoughts, and then let you go.
We're very, very fair in that regard.
So let's get things started, Neil. Let's start with your team. I think it goes without saying, probably the major news at the time is Carson Wentz has signed a contract. One of my favourite ideas is finding out that it says it's a lot of money, and then you break it down and it is a lot of money, and then in some years it's not a lot of money. So, like, for example, at the moment, I think this year it's $700,000. If you want a breakdown of all the facts and finances, this isn't the place to be. I would highly recommend the Ringer NFL show. They interviewed the guy, Kevin Clark, and Robert Mays interviewed the guy specifically talking about it, Joe Coley. It was fantastic and really informative. I'm more interested in, Neil, are you pleased to have your franchise quarterback tied up for the foreseeable future?
Absolutely. As you can attest to, there is nothing worse than not having it. You know, than wondering, well, maybe this year they'll convince us. Because, you know, don't be wrong, I mean, the Eagles have not been as spoiled as the Packers, for example, you know, who went from Favre to Rodgers. The Eagles went from Donovan McNabb to a decent couple of years with Mike Vick. And then it was, every year, it was, well, what's happening here? You know, oh, it could be Vick, it could be Foles, it could be Sanchez, it could be Bradford, it could be Chase Daniel. No, it's Wentz. So Carson Wentz, I mean, as 23 and 17 as a starter, for all intents and purposes, he was the MVP in 2017 before he got hurt. So we spoke to Coach Vermeil a few weeks ago, and he said, you know, you don't play that well and then lose it. You must still have it. The Eagles have gone out of their way this offseason to say that Wentz is their guy. You know, they didn't retain Nick Foles. They let him go away. They've surrounded him with weapons. The contract itself, of course, it's impressive numbers. It's the 6th highest in total value among quarterbacks. It's the 4th highest in average per year. It's the 5th highest in terms of fully guaranteed money, and it's tied for first in total guarantees. And the chances are, by the time the Eagles have exhausted all the guaranteed money, if Wentz is still productive, they'll look to do another one. So it's a win-win for both teams. The Eagles, as we know, I think most people would accept, are quite well run with Howie Roseman, especially when it comes to the cap management. So it's an area that the Eagles shouldn't have to worry about for the foreseeable future, which can only be a good thing.
Yeah, on the Ringer NFL show, they highlighted that Howie's obviously good at that, but he's very much a New Orleans push. Why fix it today when I can push it down to 3 years down the line and then restructure everybody's contract then? It works. It's worked for the past few years for the Eagles. I guess there's two questions related to the Wentz contract. One is, are you concerned that he, in the past 2 years, of which he's only been around 3, hasn't played 16 games?
No, not worried in the slightest. The injuries he's had, I mean, his ACL tear was freakish, how it occurred, and his back injury may have been, I mean, I'm no doctor, you've probably noticed, although I have spent a lot of time in hospitals.
I'm going to say, yeah.
His back injury may well have been a combination of overcompensating to try and get back on the field after his ACL, and also a couple of really, really hard hits. If there were soft tissue injuries, the type that keep occurring, Devontae Parker, oh, my hamstring's gone again, I'd be concerned. These are not recurring injuries. And, injury prone, yes, so's Aaron Rodgers. If we're going to attach, this label to Carson Wentz, Aaron Rodgers injury prone. So I don't hear anyone complaining about what the Packers are paying him. I'm not comparing Wentz to Rodgers. One of them's very old. One of them's very old and has got his team to the playoffs in the last couple of years. So, take from that what you will. And also one of them, when an article comes out saying how much his teammates hate him, no one came to his support. So take from that, again, what you will.
The other thing is the knock-on effect for two other NFC teams, namely the Cowboys and the Rams. They now, Dak Prescott and Jared Goff know their number, quote unquote, and we assume that they will be looking to have similar numbers. If I'm honest, I would expect Jared Goff to actually ask for more money, as he actually led his team to the Super Bowl. Although, as you said, Wentz didn't have an MVP season in 2 years ago.
Yeah, please, by all means, Dallas, pay the man. Give him all the money. Give him absolutely every single penny you have, and whatever you've got left, give that to Zeke, and what you've got left of that, give it to Cooper. Please, by all means, I beg thee. As with Goff, we've seen as well that it's going to be a question because of the, let's be honest, the nappy-filled poo that was the Rams in the Super Bowl. Is this Super Bowl, is the Rams offense, is it Goff or is it McVay? Is it some combination of the two? We don't know. But again, we've seen that Goff, after a disastrous first season where he was historically bad, he has got better, and it's probably thanks to the coach. So we've seen that offense can score points. We're going to get, we'll touch on a topic regarding that offense a little bit later. But yeah, as you say, I'd be stunned if by the time the season starts, Wentz was the most expensive contract that was signed this offseason.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I think it's interesting on the two deals. The two players, they're very different players in terms of technique and ability. Well, not necessarily ability, but I think they're quite similar in ability, but it's perception, and the perception that they have put out and the way their owners / coaches treat them. I think that the issue for both of the franchises is both of them have probably done just about enough to get a load of money, but I'm not 1,000,000% convinced that they're both franchise quarterbacks. But what do you do if you don't pay them? Like, go back into the world of, Case Keenum's and, Nick, I know he was great in Philadelphia, but let's be honest, Nick Foles, that kind of situation, do you want to be there? Do you want to, try and get another quarterback in the draft? Good luck with that. It's not the easiest thing in the world. At best, you've got a 50% chance of being right. So they are very similar to where Washington were 2 or 3 years ago, where you've got a quarterback who you like, but he's in the same carousel of you've got to give him loads of money because he's a quote-unquote franchise quarterback. Washington decided they weren't going to pay that. Whether that's right or wrong is a different conversation, but I don't think Jerry or the Rams are going to do the same thing, and I think they'll pay both of them. And I agree, by the time we kick off the NFL season, I assume that Goff will be earning more money than Wentz, and Dak will be around there somewhere similar.
It's around the NFL talk about the Dalton scale. I think we could argue that Prescott and Goff are both above the midpoint of NFL quarterbacks. I mean, let's be honest. Most teams, I think we have discussed this. Of the 32 teams, how many of them are absolutely stone dead because they have nothing at quarterback? Not many. No. So I don't think the standard of quarterback is particularly bad. I don't think it's not put this way, there's not 25 Hall of Famers, but I don't think there's 25 bums either. So I think it's one of those, though, that if you've got a quarterback and he suits what you want to do, pay him. What's the problem? The salary cap goes up every year. It's not a problem.
No. Let's stay in Philadelphia / New York, Neil. The Jets hired a new GM. They hired Joe Douglas. Interesting signing, involved with the Ravens, involved with the Eagles. They're two names that you want to be involved with over the past few years when it comes to roster construction. It almost seems like the Jets have done a good thing here. I guess the only question is, how well will he get on with Adam Gase?
And of course, Joe Douglas was, in the first series of Hard Knocks, was the Turk for the Baltimore Ravens.
He was.
He was the one going around telling them to pick up their playbook and go and see coach. So obviously that's quite a meteoric rise. Joe Douglas has been, with the Eagles. I think we know, as we say, that Howie is the cap management, he's analytics, he's the numbers guy, whereas Douglas is the player evaluator. He's the tape grinder, as it were. So obviously, as I say, he's made his bones. He's being part of the Eagles and the Ravens, fairly stable front officers, and as you say, they're badges you want. to have with you. And the idea, that, he's good mates with Adam Gase. Well, what does that mean? I mean, as we know, Adam Gase is the owner of the most unjustified level of power in the NFL. So we don't know, how good it is to be tied to him. But as you say, maybe the way the Jets went about getting Douglas was a bit farcical, but how they've got him, then, ultimately, it's the big question is he running the show or is he carrying the water for Gase? And until we know the answer to that, it looks good on paper.
It's one of them. Although Jay Gruden has no power in Washington, it's very similar to Washington, i.e. they have someone in place who is good at one thing, kind of. And what I mean by that is Bruce Allen is a terrible talent evaluator. It's actually not his job. He's a maths man. That's what his job has always been. And
he's not very good at that,
and he's not really very good at that. But what I mean is that was always his shtick. Whereas Joe Douglas has never done the cap management stuff. He's always been a talent evaluator. But then again, you'd think that you wouldn't hire Joe Douglas if you had Adam Gase in that kind of level of power, because surely the coach would be good at talent evaluation, not maths. But anyway, it's got the makings of a good appointment, apart from the fact you see that it's done by the Jets. It's the same kind of idea with Washington. It's the same kind of idea with a number of franchises where you just look and you're like, you guys don't get the benefit of the doubt on these things because you've been really bad at them for about 4 years.
Yeah, and the only thing is, you look at a lot of what the Jets have done this off-season. I mean, they've tried to get a few more weapons for Sam Darnold. They've got Le'Veon Bell, a good, last time we saw him, one of the best dual-purpose, threats in the NFL. I like, the young boy Herndon. They've got, a couple more, Robbie Anderson, Quincy Enunwa. They've made moves to try and improve on defense. They've now got a general manager who we know is a good talent evaluator. It all looks great, but then you remember that they hired Adam Gase. And for me, that's the most critical element, and that's the one that I worry is going to blow everything else up.
Let's be honest, though. The best thing that happened in the Jets search happened yesterday when they hired Hogan and Savage, the mega powers, I believe, to be involved in the front office. Maybe someone should let the Jets know that one of those has passed away and the other one's a massive racist.
There is that.
Let's stay with people who seem to have loads of power above their position, Neil. This one, again, more by accident than by judgment, I think, and that's the Texans. So that GM search went well. Nick Cazzero obviously wanted to take the job. Just to happen to notice it was coming available. No illegal means to find that out. Well, that's according to the Texans. Obviously, according to the above board, whiter than white New England Patriots, there was a tap up situation that went on. How do you get yourself in a position like this, Neil?
Well, I was listening to the Yahoo Football podcast with Trez Taylor and Charles Robinson, and they were saying on there that basically Bill O'Brien, his two role models, as it were, in terms of positions of power in the NFL, his two role models are Bill Belichick and Sean Payton, where basically it's the GM's job is to go out and get players for the head coach, and that's where that's the power structure. The head coach basically runs everything. Now, I think we can agree that Bill Belichick has pretty much done enough to warrant that type of power.
Yeah.
Sean Payton has done an awful lot to warrant that type of power in New Orleans.
Yep.
What the hell has Bill O'Brien done to do it?
I don't know. I'm going to be honest now and put my card on the table, Neil. You may have noticed over the past 4 to 5 years of doing this show and others, I have mentioned how much I'm not impressed by Mike McCarthy. So Mike McCarthy hasn't got a job anymore. So, as you will always say, eventually I'll be right. So now you need someone else to look at. Hey, Bill. Probably going to be looking at you as I have no idea how you have a job on so much power. In theory, your quarterback, due to you and the talent evaluation therein related to you, your quarterback last year had to get a bus to a game because he couldn't fly commercial. And someone thought you should get more power.
They're 42 and 38 under Bill O'Brien. It was 2014.
Jeff Fisher.
Jeff Fisher, yeah.
8 and 8, 9 and 7, 7 and 9. Bravo.
I see, he's seen off 2 general managers. And since 2014, 5 quarterbacks have started at least 9 games for the Texans. Tell you what, stop giving the ball to Lamar Miller and actually invest in linemen who are going to protect your quarterback. He's going to get destroyed. I mean, one of the conspiracy rumours as to why O'Brien decided he wanted this guy gone was how angry the organisation were that the player they wanted in the first round was snatched from under their noses by a competent front office. Well, I'm not being funny. If you're going to fire the GM because, we didn't get the rookie who we've no idea how good he can actually be in the NFL, we didn't get him to shore up the line that we've done absolutely nothing with since we traded away Dwayne Brown. Again, I'm going to say the coach here having that much power, I really don't think that the blame is on him.
I guess the other side of the coin, Neil, is this isn't very New England Patriots in terms of keeping people around.
No.
They usually let them go, and there's a list as long as your arm of people who are formerly from New England who aren't there anymore. Bill O'Brien actually being one. Is this, and I guess the Josh McDaniels staying around after the Indianapolis links last year, the first steps towards handover?
It certainly looks that way. I mean, the bright young future would seem to be McDaniels as coach and Caserio as front office man. But what if Caserio doesn't want to be the man after Bill Belichick? Obviously, I'm sure he's intensely grateful to the Patriots for giving him the opportunities to get him in this position. But let's ask David Moyes how good it is being the guy after the legend. It ain't great, is it?
No, and I'm sure it's something that McDaniels has thought of as well, because I think we all should be pretty clear that when Bill Belichick eventually does retire, there's a high possibility they also need a starting quarterback.
Yeah, but don't worry, let's entrust a head coach who, during his last time as a head coach, spent a first round draft pick on Tim Tebow.
Ooh, Tebow time. You don't hear that very often. Neil, let's move over to Los Angeles and discuss the concerning news from Todd Gurley's doctor, who used the phrase arthritic left knee.
Yeah, apparently there was. He said that everyone knew that coming out of college did Gurley have 1 or 2 ACLs in college?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
He definitely had 1.
He definitely had 1.
He said that coming out of college that there would be an arthritic component. Now, obviously, that means that after repairing the ACL, it didn't repair properly, and therefore there would be arthritis. Believe me, yeah, I know what they're talking about. The problem is that if you look at it, what the Rams have done was actually quite sensible, in that they drafted Gurley, they've run him into the ground, and then they look this season, they've matched the offer sheet for Malcolm Brown, they traded up to draft Darrell Henderson. So they knew running backs don't matter, get as much out of them as you can, and then move them on. Oh, no, but you didn't, because you gave them a ridiculous contract that these are the cap numbers for the next 4 years. 17.25 million next year. 13.2 the year after. 14.2.
Next year, as in the one coming up? Or...
No, 2020.
Oh, my goodness. Sorry, carry on.
And if they want to cut him, that would leave $25 million of dead cap. 2021, 13.2, 8.4 in dead, 4.8 million saving. 2022, 14.2 million, 4.2 dead cap, 10 million in saving. 2023, he's got 11.4 cap charge, and it could all be wiped off by cutting him. You have gone, I say, running back don't matter. I mean, I say, between 2015 and 2018, Todd Gurley has had 1,229 touches. That is the most in the NFL. It is 150 more than Melvin Gordon in 3 more games. They have worked Gurley into the ground, which is fine until you give stupid contracts. And that is what they're going to suffer with. They don't matter.
In the season, Neil, this is a fantasy show, as everyone's well aware. I guess the question becomes is, like, how far can you stay away from drafting Todd Gurley?
I'm not touching him.
Is he in the already draft, is he dropped dramatically in people's rankings already? I assume he'd fall out the first 12 running backs, no?
At the moment, he's going in the second round of best ball drafts. So that makes him, I don't know, I think he's still a top 10 running back. But literally, what's the upside of a fully healthy Gurley? The overall, the overall running back one in fantasy. There is nothing the Rams have done this offseason that leads me to think we're going to see a fully healthy Todd Gurley. There's more chance of seeing the rotting corpse of a player we saw in the Super Bowl. I don't need to draft that in my fantasy teams. I can find rotting corpses on the waiver wire all season. I am not spending an early pick on Gurley. And by the time we get into the bread and butter, the meat and potatoes of the draft, I need better players. I need players I can count on every week. And at the moment, nothing says to me Todd Gurley is trustworthy. We will probably when we speak to Liz next week, we will obviously ask her about this because I think he's going to be one of the most polarising players going into drafts. But right now, what's the date? The 19th of June. I will not draft Todd Gurley, no matter how far he falls. He will not be drafted on any team I run this year.
Fantastic. There we go. Fantasy bullet there from Neil. And Neil, final thing, a melancholy goodbye, I guess, to former Denver Broncos owner Pat Bowlen, who passed away while I was away. Mm-hmm. We can talk about obviously the knock-on effects for the Broncos, but given where Denver were and the position, it's a massive franchise that has a massive fan base across a large swathe of the US, and Pat Bowlen was in charge for a long time as the owner and seen his team get to multiple Super Bowls.
He's the only owner in NFL history with 300 victories in his first 30 seasons. The Broncos, the time Pat Bowlen was around, went 333, 225 and 1. That was the third most victories. They had 21 winning seasons, 13 division titles, 9 AFC title game appearances, where they went 7-2. They were 21-15 in the postseason. They went to 7 Super Bowls and won 3 of them. They only had 7 losing seasons out of 35 in charge, and only once went back-to-back losing seasons. This were the last 2 seasons where technically the team was being run by the Pat Bowlen Trust and not Pat Bowlen. His impact on the NFL, he was responsible for negotiating the NFL's TV contract. So this $18 billion TV contract that the NFL got was negotiated for them by Pat Bowlen.
I don't think, from that point of view, I don't think there's really much more to say. Excellent owner, done a lot for Denver, for Colorado, for all the Broncos fans, and he will surely be missed. I guess the question is as you said, over the past couple of seasons, it's been in trust, I guess. I don't know the best way to describe it. Are we assuming that they're going to sell the franchise now to a new prospective owner?
Well, apparently, I'm reading up, he said it was his children would have... He wanted the team to pass to his children. He didn't stress which of his children would have first go at them. But I would imagine that he'd quite like the team to stay in the family. Obviously, the big question is... there is another name involved with the Denver Broncos who is synonymous with Pat Bowlen. Obviously, one of them, this one's for John, this one's for Pat. John Elway is going to be involved, I would think, in where it goes now. If it stays in the Bowlen family, then John Elway is bulletproof. We've talked ad nauseum about Elway. Mm-hmm. If they were to sell, again, you're going to have some pretty big bollocks to come by the Denver Broncos and decide, Mr. Elway, it's time you went elsewhere.
That is for those NFL historians, that is a Jerry Jones, Tom Landry-esque scenario. That's what Jerry Jones did with the Dallas Cowboys. He was like, Mr. Landry, and your hat are no longer needed here in Dallas.
And probably not even that politely put.
He wouldn't have been that polite. So it has happened, but as you said, that is one of those situations where there will be a fallout, and I guess we have to wait and see what goes on with that.
Absolutely.
Neil, they're the news and notes that we wanted to discuss this week to catch everybody up and catch ourselves up in preparation for starting our section of interviews over the next few weeks. So before we go, Neil, where can people catch you before we meet again next week?
Well, I have been busy. I've written quite a few articles over the last few weeks. Most of them for Number Fire, but there were a couple for Rotoviz as well. I wrote about deep sleepers that you should know based on buzz they've generated in minicamp and OTAs and whatnot. I did one for the AFC, one for the NFC. They're over at Rotoviz. For Number Fire, I've written about Alshon Jeffrey, how he's pretty much looks like a decent value at his current ADP. Written about Cam Newton, why people seem to be sleeping on him, and why I'm happy to let everyone do it, so I can take as much of him as I can. I've written about Joe Mixon, about how he could potentially be a top 5 running back this year. And then the last one I've written is about a Green Bay Packers wide receiver that people, again, seem to be sleeping on because they're praising Marquez Valdes-Scantling too much, and that's Geronimo Allison. So you can find them at Number Fire, and you can follow me on the Twitter at MDutton13.
I am at Mandy7. Unfortunately, if you don't support Liverpool Football Club, I'd probably be staying away from my Twitter handle for another, I don't know,
15 years?
Yeah, a long time. I haven't got bored of watching the videos yet. So there you go. 6 and all that. Neil, it's been a pleasure to have you back. It's been a pleasure to be back. And these top guys are out.